it's really strange to think when you look back at 2016, and of course, the consequences of that, year, the um, I don't know, the political earthquake that happened, still feeling very much the tremors and the aftershocks of what has been going on really since that day. Obviously, we had Brexit, and then of course, Donald Trump. Um, and a lot of people have said, oh, well, clearly, Donald Trump, Brexit cut from the same cloth. And in some ways, yes and no. yeah. So, one of the things that you really see here is this talk about economics and the economic ideas of Brexit versus the current Trump administration. And the thing is, they are very different. Very different indeed. So Brexit was all about free market fundamentalism, that we are going to sail away from the EU and engage in this free market buccaneering adventure. Our tariffs will be set to zero. We'll get rid of all our quote regulations, although they said European regulations, but they really meant all regulations. And we'll be great. We'll be Singapore on the Thames, even though, of course, when you look at Singapore, they wouldn't want anything that Singapore has actually done, because a lot of Singapore industries are nationalized. I don't see Nigel Farage singing that tune anytime soon. But Trump, meanwhile, has gone in a completely different direction with these tariffs, gone all in on a protectionism bordering not quite on autarky, but he's getting there. He's getting there. Give him some time. But the economic directions that these two ideologies have gone is in slightly different, but there is a one core feature. And that has been the idea of economic isolationism, the idea that your country does not need anyone else or to rely on anyone else to survive, because it's okay, you can trade with everyone else. And this was really the silver bullet that was sold to the British people during Brexit by the Leave campaign, and of course by Trump when he was on the campaign trail. It is, shall we say, most recent, or shall we say, second iteration. But there are a lot of people looking at what has gone on here, and I've seen a fair few number of people going, well, look what happened to us with Brexit. When 9 years, I know 9 years, but 9 years, of course, since 2016. Really 5 years dealing really with the consequences of Brexit itself, but it hasn't proved to work. It hasn't been proven to work. It's done a lot of economic damage. Now we are at a point where the British people are just not in favor of Brexit. We are seeing in the polls that they want a lot closer relationship with Europe. A lot closer relationship with Europe. And I think if you were to have another referendum, I do think, there would be a resounding European, victory and that. But, of course, back to sort of on topic of this, because there is a lot of talk about, has Trump really copied the Brexit playbook in this? But has he gone all in on this, even more so than, Liz Truss did in her, shall we say, a little bit of her economic experiment? Of course, American can sort of get away with this. It is a very, very much bigger economy. It is the economic powerhouse. But even then, things are going to start falling apart, coming to pieces. Nvidia shares this morning down drastically. Again, because of those Trump tariffs. So we still don't know what these, quote, trade deals are We don't know what deals he's going to cut. We don't know if there's going to be, I don't know, people keep on talking about, Pax Mar-a-Lago, where all these countries that come do deals with America are basically going to be told to sign up to like an anti-China pact, that you won't like buy stuff from China anymore, that you'll only buy it from the US. Again, that's not how international trade or politics works. There's rumors going around about our this supposed trade deal, that Trump wants us to like alter free speech laws and things like that. And all you have to do, sign it, and then just, well, don't pass it in Parliament. Just go, yeah, we signed this trade deal, but any of that stuff we put in is not legally binding in UK law. Trump will never know. He won't care. But yeah, there's a ton of weird and wonderful stuff that we could do to flummox Trump. And I've said this before, pretend to do a trade deal with him, and then just keep on kicking the can down the road, and and hope you can, well, run out the clock until he leaves, and then maybe more sensible people take over and sort out this mess that they've gotten America into. It would be really the best thing, hopefully, to see in this. But we really are seeing the consequences of what happens when you follow through on this idea of ideology over pragmatism, over reasonability, compromise. And there was an article I saw the other day, also I think it's in the FT, and it's about some hedge funds. And there's two theories of thought going around here. First of all, a lot of hedge funds are like, no, they aren't following any plan at all. They are just following this ideological playbook, which says, if you follow this ideological playbook, I know we've brought this before about Brexit and of course the Conservatives, that if you follow this crazy ideological playbook that currently, or the Trump administration is currently trying to play, that everything will be fine. You'll win this massive economic victory and it'll all be great. And they're like, we're so worried because we know if you follow this ideology, it doesn't work. It's madness to follow this. And then there's this other strain of hedge funds who have basically just come out and said, yeah, we don't even think it's a matter of ideology. We just think Trump's insane. There's a lot to that theory. It wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. But I do think it's not the fact that he's insane. It's the fact that it's ideology. We've seen this play out through Brexit. We've seen the Brexiteers in Parliament try to go through on this crazy, ridiculous, Brexit ideology. We saw it really culminate with Liz Truss. Liz Truss, I am going to do this, and it's everything that the Brexiteer hard right wing of the party had been saying that they want to do for years. And what happened? They came this close to like absolutely crashing the economy, where like pension companies were like an hour away, from what we know, an hour away from like just going bankrupt. And a lot of people would have lost their pensions. That would have sent shockwaves through certainly various UK industries, just ripple effects. If you think what Liz Truss did was bad, could have been a heck of a lot worse if the Bank of England had not stepped in. And that's another thing that you are now seeing. Because always remember, the Bank of England, independent, they stepped in at the 11th hour, sort of managed to solve everything out in that area. However, at the end of this year, and this is what is scaring a lot of people. This is what is scaring a lot of people in America at the moment. The end of this year, the guy who is currently in charge of the Fed, his term comes up. That means Trump gets to appoint the new chair of the Fed. Given what we have seen from all the crazy lunatics he's appointed to his cabinet, who do you think he's going to appoint to that? He is going to appoint someone who is an absolute lunatic. And here's the thing. This is what's bad about this. This position is going to last longer, I think, than Trump, from what I remember, because it's quite a decent chunk that they are in that office and in that position before they step down. So they're going to do a lot of damage. You put someone crazy in, and even let's say, a Democrat wins the next election. Like, even if the Democrat wins the next election, you've still got to deal with the fact that Trump's crazy appointee is going to be in there. So even if the Democrats do get in and they try and, solve this mess, they could be sabotaged by this Trump loyalist who just decides to, I don't know, raise interest rates. Oh, you're going to borrow more? Well, guess what? I'm raising interest rates, or I'm lowering interest rates, just to screw over the Democratic administration. And that's not even having to rip out all those Trump loyalists that have now starting to embed themselves in the US government. But yeah, it's certainly another interesting thing that is going to happen soon, and I think that might be worth a video on itself at some point. But yeah, Brexit and Trump, economically different, going off in different directions. Ideologically, when it comes to their politics, it was all about nationalism, anti-immigrant sentiments. Guess what? Doesn't work. But Trump is now doubling down on some of that stuff heavily. And as we always said, in the last administration, there were people who could, settle him down, jangle some keys in front of him and distract him, curb his more, worse impulses of some of the things he wanted to do. This time, not the case. Not the case. They are all sycophants surrounding him, going, yes, that is an absolute wonderful idea. Let me go and do it. And when, they pull the bottom Jenga block and it all crumbles down, what do? Oh, it must be the Democrats. It must be that woke DEI stuff. Because it will never, ever be Trump's fault. So, yeah. What do you think about this? Do you think there is similarities? There are similarities, absolutely. But what do you think? Brexit, Trump, cut from the same cloth? Or, maybe not quite the same stitch? Who knows? Anyway, I'll let you decide that down below. But as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.